The Men's Health Wellness Conference is returning to South Florida. The 2022 South Florida Men's Wellness Conference is around the corner. It is time to save the day for this two-day virtual and in-person conference that begins on November 4th. On the first day of the conference, it will start at 9 a.m. after welcome and acknowledgments and the opening song Imagine by Rico. The first session will start at 9:15 where MSM, or Men Who Have Sex with Men, health will be discussed, along with a brief review of health issues affecting MSM and intervention approaches by Dr. Nupsius Benjamin-Robinson. The second session will cover strengthening provider and client relationships through stigma reduction by Kristina, Santana, and John Meade. The third session of the day will discuss the role of risk perception on dating applications, usage, and sexual health promotion practices among young Black men who have sex with men, YBMSM, in Florida by Dr. Brandon Moton. And this day will be concluded with self-care tips for service providers by Dylan Brooks and Ederick Johnson. On the same day, an in-person event will be conducted later in the evening from 6:30 p.m. at the State of the Transgender Community Town Hall at ArtServe in Fort Lauderdale. The second day of the conference will also be conducted in both in-person and virtual ways, and will of course be broadcast by Happening Out Television Network. And the schedule will be the same as on day one, with minor adjustments for in-person visitors all day, and testing and vaccination services will be available at 3 venues. Each session will touch on various topics throughout the day. Registration links and further information is available on the official website at hotspotsmagazine.com/Men's Health. And as I said, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network are major supporters and sponsors of the event, also sponsored by the Florida Department of Health. And the live event will be here at the studios, here at Sunshine in Fort Lauderdale, and there will also be events at Compass in Palm Beach County, the Compass Community Center, and at Pride Lines in Miami-Dade County. So we encourage you to come out. Very important health conference for health issues for the LGBTQ community.
You know, I was talking with Jameer Baptiste, who's one of the organizers of this. He also works with us for Hotspots Magazine. Incredible organizer. He will also be talking at one of the sessions, at the closing session on day 2. And I asked him, because there will be an article on this also in SFGN online and on stands, not tomorrow, but on Thursday. But I asked, what's the impetus for this? Why is this necessary? And he just points to the stark numbers, which seem even higher to me. He said, 80% of new HIV infections are in men, 68% of those are in MSN, or essentially gay or bisexual men, and the trans, I don't know if we mentioned, the trans men community will also be addressed and positively discussed at this as well. So there's just a desperate need for it, and people don't know that they need it. It's just fallen so far off of the headlines, but it's a very important weekend, and I really hope people come, because I know that these doctors, this panel, these speakers they've got lined up, impeccable, top flight.
I participated in the conference last year. Again, it was hosted and we broadcast it last year. One of the things that is a surprise to me, because in many respects, I sit in a bubble, and I think my bubble is what everyone's experience is. And then either I need to remind myself, or more frequently, other people remind me that the bubble you live in is the bubble you live in. One of the things that I learned from the conference, which adds to the observation you just made, is stigma, especially in people of color, gay communities, gay men communities of people of color. There's a stigma, and as a result, they are not as aggressive in their prevention of HIV. They're not as aggressive in terms of the use of condoms. They're not as diligent in pursuing health care and the preventative kinds of things that they should do. And the reason is because they have the stigma and then live in the shadows or in the periphery of the corners, and as a result, their healthcare suffers from it.
Well, that's one of the reasons why they reference MSM instead of gay or bisexual, because especially here in South Florida, we have a lot of people from the Caribbean and Latino families where they can't be open about the fact that they have sex with men. often they lead a double life where they have lives with women and they may not even be fully gay or bisexual, but they occasionally have sex with men. And it's difficult for healthcare providers to know how to react to that sometimes, and that's what this conference is to help with.
Oh, you know, one other point that I want to, and I compliment you, David, for this, to David's point. We even talked about today in production, in terms of doing this story about the conference, of whether gay would be incorporated in the headline, and made the decision, and David helped carry that decision. No, we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't say gay or LGBT in our headline. And the reason is because of exactly what David just said. And so you should participate in the conference. We encourage you to do it. Florida Department of Health and the organizations that are, the healthcare organizations that are behind this, is very, very valuable and important for our LGBTQ community, especially our people of color.
And on your way to or from it, stop by an early voting site and vote.
Yes, that would make it doubly valuable. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.